We're talking about enhanced crop protection via improved fertilizer compatibility. It's a big deal that you probably don't even think that much about, but you're going to after you hear this episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
Welcome to XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve podcast, where real farmers share real insights and real results to help you improve your farming operation. And now, here's your host, Damian Mason.
Hey there, welcome to another fantastic XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. It's me, your host, Damian Mason, but you just heard that in the introduction. I've got a good one for you today. I've got Art Graves with Vive Crop Protection. Art and I met last month. It was February of 2025. We both were speakers at a conference in upstate New York, actually the Finger Lakes area for Finger Lakes Agronomics, good folks up there. And I watched Art give a presentation, and they do a thing at Vive Crop Protection. They've got essentially a little plastic dog toy looking thing that's essentially shows you molecules, and it talks about why it matters. And he gets a little bit professory because he's a former professor. He talks about encapsulated technology. And I said, why don't you come on the show and explain why the hell this matters? And then we saw each other at Commodity Classic, and we spent time at the booth. You may have seen the video. And he's got Johnny Varell. I'm wearing the Varell Farms hat here. And he says, here's why it matters. I can show you a jar, and we'll show this here. If you're listening, I encourage you to check out the video, but it's real simple. One of them looks chunky. One of them looks like you dumped a bunch of granular stuff into liquid that's never going to move into solution. And the other one looks like a pure, clean solution. Why this matters? It's about getting crop protection to your plants, and the less it has incompatibility, the more efficient it is. This matters a lot, the kind of money you're spending right now, and also about utilization of resources. So I hope I set that up. I'm not the one with the PhD around here. You are. So anyway, Art Graves, did I set that up okay?
You did good. We'll straighten you out on the PhD before too long, but at least I'm smart.
I just think that you're so smart, and the fact that you're bold, I just think that there's so much brain up there that the hair couldn't get roots, and you've got this massive brain. And I always think this dude's brilliant. I just got to make sure I give him all the accolades he deserves.
That's great. There is a little bit of extra credibility that comes with my hairline. Thanks.
Anyway. You spoke about this in Auburn, New York, and then you talked about it at our recording, and it took me, honestly, maybe I was the slow kid in your class. It took me until this time to really understand it. You don't make fertility. Your product is carried via fertility.
That's right.
A lot of other products are, and we're going to see more of that because we're so much better at ag. We're putting out, when we do a pass, there might be 4, 5, 7 things in there, in furrow for crying out loud, 9 things in there. You got one thing that's incompatible. It doesn't only become not good, it becomes antagonistic versus, complementary.
Exactly. And you don't know which of those products is going to get thrown out of the mix, because finding out when you've got that many things in the tank, it's hard to determine. You're doing multiple jar tests, which takes a bit of time to do, that we don't really have in the spring to do. So you're losing efficiency there. If we ever get plugged up in the spring, I don't know if you've ever had to clean a plugged filter in a planter, clean out the pumps or clean out the sprayers. It's a big loss of time and a time of year where we can't afford it either. Retailers and growers alike like to put things in furrow because, as you mentioned, it is efficient. And we're looking to add more and more things. So you want to make sure that you have the best compatibility that you can look for in whatever products you're bringing into your fertility program through your planter.
So the thing you showed us at Commodity, you didn't show, I don't think I remember you showing it to the crowd in New York. So you tell me which thing you want to go with, because, I was the first one that my BS meter went up. And I'm very frank, and I know we got a great bunch of awesome producers that listen to the Cutting the Curve and showed up at our XtremeAg stuff. I heard you say encapsulated technology. And I'm like, well, that's cool. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember space age technology, and then all the stuff that was being sold on TV, from Tang to some new gadget. It was a space age technology. And so I'm sitting with my BS meter going up and said, what the hell is encapsulated technology? But you do a good thing, because remember, 40% of the audience is a visual audience. You showed us that jar, and sure. That's when I didn't care about encapsulated technology more. It just became very apparent to me, one of these things is going to apply very nicely, and one of these things is going to gum up the works.
Sure. I have a bunch of them around here. So I have the jar of the kind of chunky, snotty product there that you can see, and then the jar of our encapsulated technology. It's clear there. It's a fully fully blended product because that's in a pop-up fertilizer already. So you can see the incompatibility. And I have a product that I used last year for a real farmer, and it in this jar, and you can see how it splits in broken half. So this 50% water and 50% starter. And this product only likes the water portion, doesn't necessarily like the pop-up portion. And so we know that it mixes well with water, but it doesn't mix well with the fertilizer, but that's going to make a mess. This half and half stuff, when you mix it up, yeah, it goes to mix up pretty well, but then it settles out and clumps. And I don't know if you can see it there, but there's lots of snottiness.
So if you're listening to the audio, you know that we release this on XtremeAg.farm's website, and we also put these on our YouTube channel and on Acres TV. And I encourage you to look at the visual. He's not even using an extreme example. He's not doing the silverware salesman at the state fair trick. He's holding up a jar, and the point is, this stuff separated. It did not go into solution, and you can do the mix, but if you guys sit out for an hour, how long did it take for that to re-separate? Like not much time at all.
No, not very much time at all. Less than half of a day. So if you're parking your planter at the end of the night, and you've got this in there, you will wake up to a mess in the morning. Yep. It's not even several hours till it's settling right back out. Where I've left this one that we've looked at before, the Vive stuff, in my truck over freezing temperatures overnight. You get it right out of the back seat of the truck. Last week I was in New Hampshire. It was 20 degrees in the morning. It shook right into suspension, right back in, clear as day. So I feel really good about that technology. And when people hear about micro-encapsulation technology, that's been around a long time. This is nano-encapsulation technology, which is 1,000 times smaller than micro-encapsulation, which is where we can gain those efficiencies and get that chemistry to really mix together.
Okay, so there's a couple. I mean, I'm just thinking through if I'm a farmer and I'm listening to this. Yep. I'm like, all right, I don't use Vive products and I don't have this problem. I think that there's somebody that probably thinks they don't have. Let's go with the first thing. Whether you use Vive products or not doesn't matter.
Sure.
I mean, obviously Art would like you to, but the point is, I think that this is a problem more so than people probably realize because it's happening. And if they don't see it immediately, they might be suffering the results. They might have a lack of compatibility that they're not even aware of. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, or they're just eliminating the fertilizer aspect with it and going straight with water, or mixing 50 and 50, 50% water, 50% fertilizer, trying to eliminate that that variable. And so when they do that, they're reducing the amount of fertilizer they can put in right in the furrow, which is where it's most efficient.
Yeah, but your point is they're doing such a heavy dilution to avoid compatibility issues that you obviously degrade your efficiency because now you're hauling a shitload of water, right? You're just hauling a whole bunch of water around, and that seems like it's a foolish move when we have technology that can make it so we're hauling way less water and getting greater concentration. So compatibility improves my ability to concentration versus dilution, which improves my efficiency.
100%. And now we're getting these products to a crop where the seed treatments really only give you about 21 to 28 days of protection against insects and diseases. And these products are able to protect that crop for an extended period of time past that, depending on the product, your 50, 60 days of protection against those pests that were stealing yield. So when we get to plant health and the efficiency of plants photosynthesizing, that's where these products really come into play. They're making your crop respire less, which allows that to accumulate more yield because there's less stress on those crops.
What about your products, your crop protection products at Vive are fungicides, that sort of thing? You seem like one of the few that's pushing this thing about, yes, ours goes into a fertility mix with no problem. Is this something that, I mean, is that the technology that Vive got behind? Is that, or I mean, I don't see this as much from other companies where they're all about compatibility, our stuff goes in as part of the solution, like wanting to be more of a team player. They talk more about their benefits.
Yeah, exactly. As a startup, a Canadian startup, no less, one of the ways to procure funding is you have to have a story, and most of the time with startups these days, they have to have an efficiency and a sustainability story.
Yeah.
So when it came to development of these nanopolymers and incorporating them on active ingredients, you got to a point where we said we can be more efficient delivering nutrients and these crop protectants to the plant through the planter and saving a pass of a sprayer. You don't have to go out and spray it V3 or V5. You're saving that pass to get that protection of that plant later into the season. So there's an efficiency and a sustainability to almost every product we bring to the market. We call them the Vive values. And Vive advantages, and we have to have them in every product we bring to the market. One, it's a core value. Two, it helps us continue to get funding, investors beyond the Canadian government.
Got it. So the technology to bring it down, because someone says, okay, well, how exactly does this work, or why is this different than usual? You show the little
our little mix
toys. Yeah.
Oh, the toy.
Well, and also that. And we did a video with that, me and Will, and at the thing. But what I want you to do is explain in very simple terms the technology that makes this, why this is a game changer.
Sure. Some of my most favorite things to teach when I was teaching was water and how important it is to agriculture. And when we talked about crop protection, why water is a great product to work with. It's cheap, it's abundant, and it's because it's neutral, it's still chemically active. And you heard the joke I used at the meeting there. I won't use it here. But the nanopolymers of the dog toy, because they have two different chemistries involved with them, represented by the two different colors.
Didn't your joke involve wisecracking on the owner of the company's ex-wife?
Ex-wife, yeah. Yeah.
So wait a minute, you were concerned that I made a wise apple about you and your hairline, and you're up there bashing on the guy who's holding the meeting's ex-wife. I got permission. Honest, you might have crossed more lines than I did.
I got permission, and I included Shannon in the joke, his current wife, which made it even better.
It was good, actually. I found it to be quite funny.
Yeah, it was great. So like water, these nanopolymers give the active ingredient, because it coats them, it gives them the ability to work with two different chemistries. So think of the pink and the purple as two different chemical abilities, one being water loving and one being fertilizer loving. It can work and be compatible with water, and it can be compatible with fertilizer because there's enough surface area of each on the active ingredient to give it that compatibility advantage. So that's really why we carry around these silly dog toys. They're a lot of fun. They get people's attention and makes them curious. It's similar to how soap works. Soap works as a micelle, and it basically is a way to have water loving outside of the molecule and water hating hydrophobic on the inside of the molecule. And that way it can clean stuff off of your body that takes water loving particles, and it can clean fats and oils off your body because it will turn inside out and take those fats and oils away. So it's a way to be chemically flexible because it is water loving and oil loving at the same time. And that's why it becomes compatible. And the other thing is it's very small. We talked about nano. Because it's very small, that enhances the compatibility advantage. It also enhances the active ingredients efficiency because we have to get the active ingredient to be small too. So now we're getting a more consistent delivery of more active ingredient to the pest. So we get a double advantage there in efficiency for disease control and insect control.
You've been around the game for a while. I think you worked for a seed company, at least one of your early things.
Yep.
You've been in the classroom. You've got plenty of credibility, and you've got enough experience with a lot of this. Do you think that guys our age are going to, get to the end of our careers and we're going to say, "Holy crap! Do you know how bad we were at?" And we weren't bad at it, but we didn't realize it. But we put a lot of stuff out there that we never get the actual value from. And when you talk about nutrients, 30%, 40% of a nutrient gets into the plant. That means the bulk, 2/3 of it does not get into the plant. I think on the crop protection stuff, you said Vive's big story here is obviously improved efficiency, et cetera. You've got an environmental story to tell. You've got an economic story to tell, which both are very important in the year 2025 and beyond. But in it, I mean, just from a historical perspective, you didn't think that we were bad 30 or 40 years ago, but
No, we were terrible.
we put a lot of crap out there that didn't do anything. Well, it would have done something, but it wasn't in the right place. It was incompatible. We put it out at the wrong time. We put it out in wrong, way more dosage than we needed. And it's kind of a neat story.
Yeah, I'm older. Maybe I'm older than you, but I remember when they created a certified crop advisor system because the fertilizer salespeople at all these co-ops were so bad, they were making their customers go broke because they were just selling a ton of fertilizer and it wasn't very efficient at all. That invented the certified crop advisor system, and we've come a long ways from there. And not only that, we've also learned a lot more about how these plants work. We've learned about how they worked genetically. We've learned about how they work down to the cellular level now,
Right.
versus when I was in graduate school, I was working on systemic acquired resistance in tomatoes, and that's all we knew about it is somehow it makes the plant's defenses increase. That was all we knew about it 30 years ago. And now we know that it's inducing the plants to thicken their cell walls, to create peroxides, to do programmed cell death. That we know so much more now, and that's allowed us to get efficient. And that's just in my career. I couldn't imagine what some gentlemen that are in their 60s and 70s and all the changes that they've seen.
What about on the, I've been not critical. I have pointed out that we always, in agriculture, production agriculture, we work on improved efficiencies. And the tough part is that's good. That's how we've gotten here. That's how we've gotten to 174 bushel corn per acre as a national average and on all these kinds of things. And our unit of nutrient and natural resource utilization per calorie of output is as low as it's ever been in the history of humankind, let alone the history of agriculture. Those are all good. But I have pointed out, at some point, efficiency gains just continue to decrease. It's easy to go from, the Native American that got 3 bushels of corn per acre to 100. It's harder to go from 174 to 274. That's where we are. So it's easy to look back 30 or 40 years ago and say, my God, look at how much better we are. I don't think we make those kinds of leaps and gains in the next 30 years.
Well, I would argue that maybe we still can. I think there's a lot of yield opportunities on farms, and I have specific examples in my own career that were doing a terrible job of growing corn just a couple of years ago. And then I saw that same farmer at Commodity Classic winning third in New York State this year. So you need to tackle the large yield issues first. If you have a compaction problem or a drainage problem or something else, that's your largest yield limiting factor. If you don't tackle that first, there isn't a product out there. There's not enough efficiency in any fertility, any crop protection to get you to where you want to be in yield. So you have to still do a really good job of putting the seed in the ground and getting your stands and uniformity, and then fertility and crop protection come in there. We talked about fertilizer efficiency. If your plant doesn't have any roots because they're diseased or insects are chewing them off, we don't see it. It's underground. It's happening. Your plants cannot be efficient with the fertilizer that's under there. So we got to think about protecting the roots. And then, of course, the next thing that we never think about, but until the corn falls down, is the stalks. And if a plant is stressed, the plant will cannibalize itself. And when the plant cannibalizes itself, it's eating its roots and it's eating its stalks. So there goes your water efficiency, your nutrient efficiency, and then your stalks break in half at the end of the season because the plant cannibalized themselves because it was stressed, didn't have enough resources to do what it wanted to do and maximize that yield. So identifying major yield stresses and yield limiting factors on your farm is a huge way to get started. Once you've gotten that done, then we can talk about these designer crop protections and fertility regimes to take it to the next level. And it can be done in a short period of time.
We're an educational platform here at XtremeAg, and I've seen the guys be very, very, very generous with their time to help somebody that has a sincere question. But there's also the reality that probably not the followers of XtremeAg, but certainly among agriculture, I saw you in New York talking about products technology, people get excited. But I also heard you talk about you better address some of these other factors that are on you. I saw some arms getting crossed. I saw
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that still in this business don't want to address they don't want to address the things that are on them, and because they won't change. There is still
One
that.
of one of the things I've experienced in my career is farmers spend a lot of time farming, thinking about farming, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts about farming. It's what they do and they are great at it. But when they make a decision, they think it is the right decision,
Yep.
even when it's sometimes a wrong decision. So
Yep.
I probably mentioned one of the things I mentioned is speed tillers, which I call speed killers.
Yep.
And that's one of the times when you see them sit back and fold their arms, they're upset because they spend a lot of money and they spend a lot of time making that decision to purchase that piece of equipment. And it does a fantastic job preparing a seed bed. Don't get me wrong. If you have zero compaction and zero risk of compaction after that, it's a great tool.
Was it your point that it creates compaction? It tears the hell out of soil structure.
Yes.
And I think you had one more thing. It probably was about water infiltration. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't like them.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, they can create a problem, but they do create a great seed bed. So if your major issue is seed bed preparation, and that's a tool for you, that's right. But when a farmer thinks they spend a lot of time and energy making a good decision, it's hard to overcome that. No farmer wants to admit they have compaction. No farmer wants to admit they have nematodes. Those are the two things I've found in my career that farmers will say that they don't have.
Right. And they do. And they almost all unequivocally, boom, do. What about when you gave your presentation, you did get some really nice response. I mean, yeah, you caused them to sit back and cross their arms a little bit, which I love because you were challenging the thinking. And I tell my audience is the same thing. You watch me speak, and I said we're gonna have some big mindset shifts. And man, some of those people don't like mindset shifts because it's hard to get your head around. But on the stuff that you guys do, when you say the word crop protection, do we overuse fungicide? Do we overuse products? I think we still do. I think it's way better than it was. But I don't think it's, and it's maybe in the old, as you tell me, we didn't have the understanding. I think we got a better understanding now, but I think it got to where, and like my guys, Kelly and all that, will talk about the easy button. I think we're overusing products now because it's just become, as you said, first off, I already made the decision, by God, don't tell me I'm wrong. And it's also kind of easy to do so. Are we overusing products because of the ease factor?
We're still managing fields. We're not down to precision farming's come a long ways, but we're not managing diseases down to a precise level. When a field has a disease and it gets the economic level, or if we're worried that it's going to, we're going to go ahead and treat that with a fungicide. That probably does lead to some overuse, you would say. There is technology coming that is going to have sentinel plants in a field that's going to basically alert themselves as soon as the disease affects that plant. The plant is going to fluoresce and be detectable by space and drones or planes. And then we can go out and treat just that specific area of the field where the disease is developing because we caught it early. You can catch it within minutes or the day that the disease develops or the insect starts to eat on those plants. You can detect it that night when you fly the satellite over. And then we can do it very precise and use less. And that's the case. And there's another technology I heard of last week talking to a researcher in the Midwest. They were spraying soybeans and trying to target with a camera sprayer the pods. And when they got done with the trial, the researcher said, okay, so how do we do on the pods? Well, we're very good on the pods. Now we can tell you if you want to spray the top of the pod or the bottom of the pod with these cameras. So that's where we're going to go with this efficiency. But the thing is, we don't, going back to my original example of the plants that fluoresce, this first plant, that's nothing we see with our eye for days or weeks later.
Yeah.
And that plant is respiring, losing yield the whole time that happens. And that's why we overuse fungicides today, probably.
Arguably, it's 2 weeks of damage before our eye sees it, and then it became the answer. I've heard Kevin Matthews say this. He's in that whole hurricane belt where it's humid as hell, and Chad, they talk about this. If you wait till you see the damage, you've lost maybe as much as 20% of yield. So that's where we use fungicide preemptively, and maybe, unfortunately, maybe unnecessarily.
Sure, but in the future, we'll be able to be much more specific, and
right.
that's what I'm looking forward to.
So while you're looking forward to it, because I like that you're out there, what else are we going to see? What else are we going to see? What is a company like
Well,
Vive? What are the smart? What's the smart? First off, bacteria to fungi ratio. Since you guys are in a fund, I never even heard that term until last year working with XtremeAg, and I thought I was really kind of an amateur soils guy. Nope, never even heard about that. We're going to learn more about that, aren't we?
yeah, I think you're going to learn a lot more about your soil biome, and you're going to learn a lot more about what we can deliver in biologicals. I think the biological space has a lot of opportunity. I think one of the major limiting factors of the biological space is getting the biology from the jug to the plant alive, or to the soil alive, wherever you're delivering it. I think that's a lot of time where we see underperformance of our biologicals. They work well in the lab, they work well in the greenhouse. When we get them out into the cold, hard world of a northern spring
Yep.
mineral soil, they often
Because
don't
don't we
arrive.
have aren't there a few things that are the enemies of biologicals? First off is temperature. Secondly is time. If it's got something alive in it, it doesn't last forever. It's got a definite life. And then the other one, water. I've heard a number of times we were putting this kind of water in because all water is not lab water. All water is not distilled. It's got minerals. It's got those things in it. So are those the three enemies?
Yeah, and that's one of the places where our little dog toy nanopolymers has had a lot of potential to work on biologicals.
So
If
does
we
your
can
stuff?
coat
That's why
them
I
with the
was wondering.
nanopolymers, we can protect them.
So something like your stuff that's crop protection, does it play in the same sandbox nicely with biologicals? So if we move away from as much applied fertility, which arguably we probably should because we're over applying fertility, or even use less herbicide, does the Vive product lineup just then start holding hands and walking down the aisle with biologicals?
Well, we hope so, and there's still work to do, and there's 1,000 variables that affect the biologicals and the active ingredients.
Because there's 1,000 biologicals.
There's a lot to figure out there, but we feel like our technology has the potential to answer those questions. And once we do, we'll have products that we can deliver to the market in hand with an active ingredient safely with a biological, deliver them at a more robust level so that we get the efficacy that we want out of biologicals and consistency. Because sometimes when they work, they really work. But it's the consistency of getting that every time is the challenge, and some of them are pretty pricey. So we need to get that consistency down.
What else do you see from the? You're about a good mix. You're kind of product. You're kind of a geek on products, but you're a marketplace guy. You're not the white coat in the lab geeking out on the R&D. You still get the field. You still get the field.
I'm a get your hands dirty, crawl behind the corn planter agronomist. Yeah.
All right. So what if I'm a farmer listening to the Cutting the Curve podcast? From your standpoint, what's another couple of things you see that excite you?
Well, the biology is a big one. I do like the precise application technology, whether it's see and spray or this satellite technology. Satellite technology to view our crops right now is crude and in some places inconsistent, and the satellites don't fly over enough, especially if you have cloud cover like anywhere around the Great Lakes. We do. That's some limiting factors there. But with when you incorporate drones and airplanes in conjunction with satellites, you get much better imagery, and we'll be able to manage these crops. And then we're not driving through them. When we drive through them, we damage them. We're not as bad as turf people though, that cut their crop every day and injure it, and then expect it to be green and nice the rest of the year. We're a little bit better than that.
So the other question I have for you, when Roundup Ready soybeans came on, you're like, oh my goodness. We used to have to walk soybean fields with a weed hook. This was so prohibitive. Now, back then, drill them, spray them with Roundup once, done. It makes you wonder, because we talked about compatibility. Are we going to then, again, a few years from now, say, holy crap, how did it take us so long to make it so this stuff could all work together? Because it seems like that should have been something we addressed early on. If you put this in with this, it needs to mix, and it needs to come out in a very equally distributed manner, etc.
Well, some of that's the system, and some of that's why Vive exists today. So to develop an active ingredient, a crop protection product from the ground up that's never been registered before, it's 10 years and $200 million worth of investment. A startup today cannot do that. They can't afford to do it. So what we've done is we've taken these products that have been on the market a long time, and because we don't have that initial investment, we can just do a little bit more investing, a little bit more research, and find these new uses and find these new niches, and even get them registered in crops where they weren't registered before, so that now an onion farmer can use this technology and this active ingredient that they never could before.
So your assertion would be that we concentrated on compatibility second, we concentrated on chemistry or the creative of the product first, and spent all of our money there, and we worried about compatibility second.
The original registrants had to get these things on into the market to start making that $200 million back up.
Yep.
And so because they had to do that, they then get it just good enough to get into that marketplace, to sell enough of it to make that money back, because they don't want to invest any more money in it. That's to a place where Vive comes in, and we have the resources and the lab technology and scientists that can take it that next step. Just make it a slightly better. There's about 20 to 40% inefficiency in all active ingredients on the marketplace. We're looking to find that space to make them better, that 20 to 40% better.
I'm going to leave it right there. Say that, by the way, just give those math numbers again. On the market today, they are.
Sure. On the marketplace today, most active ingredients after their initial development are 60 to 80% of the way there. There's still 20 to 40% room to make them better, and that's what Vive does. We stick in that spot to increase their efficacy another 40 to 20%.
Increase the efficacy of a product that already exists, because it was put out there and it's the next evolution, I guess what you're saying.
Yep. There's room for improvement, and we've got the ability to work in that space.
His name is Art Graves. The company is called Vive Crop Protection. If you want to learn more about them, go to Vive Crop. That's VIVE crop.com. Did I get that right? I'm holding your card right here.
You did, sir. Thank you very much.
His name's Art Graves. I've had the good fortune of seeing him in real time twice within 3 weeks, and then again online right here. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'll bump into him again. But he says he's up in New Hampshire. I don't get there a whole lot.
Nice spot.
Yeah, it's a nice spot up there. Anyway, all right. His name's Art Graves. My name is Damian Mason. If you enjoyed this, share it with somebody that can learn from it. Remember, we have literally hundreds and hundreds of videos, hundreds of podcasts just like this available at XtremeAg.farm. Go to XtremeAg.farm. It's all free. It's a free library of information to help you farm better, and we're very glad you're here. If you enjoyed this, also check out our show, The Granary. It's filmed at my farm in Indiana, where I'm sitting right now, and with my buddies in The Granary. You can check that out. New episodes releasing every week, and it's a lot of fun, so check that out. And also remember that we have webinars every month. That's right. The beginning of the month, usually the first Tuesday, we have first Thursday, we have webinars, and we invite you to come there. But you got to be an XtremeAg member to participate in that. But it's only $750 a year, and you get so much value out of being a member, because you get direct access to the guys, and also the trial day at the end of the year with products we're using at Varell Farms, like Arts. I don't know if they're going to be doing a Vive trial there or not. But anyway, it's all good stuff. Till next time, thanks for being here. I'm Damian Mason from XtremeAg, and this is Cutting the Curve.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cutting the Curve. Make sure to check out XtremeAg.farm for more great content to help you squeeze more profit out of your farming operation.